Okay, so hopefully it's in focus, this bloody autofocus. So to get the motherboard in, so we've done the power's all in, ready to go. So let's get the motherboard in. Now, the motherboard comes with a fascia. The fascia is something that clips on the back of the cases, and it's just to make it look pretty. You know, it's not needed. Sometimes you lose them, but it makes everything look pretty, and there's actually, it gives you a few indications of what things are. Like it says HDMI if you don't know what it is, it says DisplayPort if you don't know what it is. So to put it in, it just literally clips on. So if we go down to the hole at the back where it goes, it's nothing more than just lining it up and clipping it in. So I've lined it up, and then it should just clip in. Now, obviously, I'm doing something wrong. So it should just clip in. So so you will have exactly the same experience as me. You will go, it's not fitting. Am I not pushing hard enough? Yes, I think I'm not pushing hard enough. So I'm putting the bottom in first, and then it's not quite in at the top. So if I push at the top here, there you go, it clipped in. And if I do the same the other side, it clips in. Ah, there we go. There's one in, and two in. Is there any more? Just those two. So there we go then. So it's just the four corners, and just make sure the bottom's in as well. So you do have to be quite, I mean, it's a thin piece of metal, but you have to be a little bit forceful at the same time, surprisingly forceful, to make it clip into place. So once it's in place, I mean, like I say, it is only a fascia. It's only to make it look pretty, but that was a surprising amount of effort that I had to put in there to get it to clip. So there you go, that's in. Now we can get the motherboard in. Now, normally these cases will have the I've forgotten what they're called now. The offsets, I forget what they're called, but it has these screw holes basically, and you can just drop the motherboard on, and you need to make sure that these things, I've forgotten what they're called. I can't remember what they're called, but they're basically the screw holes that you can screw into the motherboard. This one's is already in there, and it's already got them in the correct places. So there's 3 at the top, 3 in the middle, and 3 at the bottom. And this one in the very centre is just a pin. So it's not a screw hole, it's just to help drop it in and line it up. This is the back fan cable, so I just need to tuck that out the way while I drop the motherboard in. So to drop the motherboard in, you where your connectors are at the back, you push that towards the face plate that you've just put in, making sure not to catch that fan cable that's managed to drop down. There we go. And you just line it up with the 6 screws, and luckily with this one it has that centre pin, so when I put in it in the right place, that centre pin should come through that middle hole if you line it up just right. And so, like I say, I make it look awkward, and you will make it look easy, I'm sure. Let's see, so where's that pin? So that pin's there. The face plate at the back has springs on it. So when I'm pushing that board in, the face plate is pushing back against it because it's sprung, you see. So it feels like it's tight to get in, but eventually it does get in. And that centre pin there is now in place, and it's now holding that down. So that motherboard is not moving because you've got the tension of the springs back here and that centre pin, and that's now holding it in place. That's not moving. So what we can do is we can find the right screws to then hold all of that down. So we need 8 screws, and we have to get the right ones. Now, none of these bags are labelled, so that's really useful. So we've got no labelling on the bag, so I don't know which screw goes where. So how many is in here? So we've got 2, 4, 6 in that one. We've got quite a few in that one, hundreds in there. So I reckon that must be the hard drives, because there's hundreds of them. They're hard drives, because there's hundreds of them. This bag has maybe, let's see, 6, maybe 9 screws in here. So I reckon it's probably this bag. So let's give it a go and see. I mean, I'm not using screws for anything else, so I don't think it's really going to make any difference. So let's try one and see what happens. So just make sure you get the right screwdriver so it doesn't slip, and try screwing it in, and if it goes in then you know you've got the right one, and if it doesn't then perhaps you've got the wrong one. And is that going in? It's spinning but it's not going anywhere. But are these perfectly lined? Not perfectly lined because of that springiness. Try that again. These might be too big. I know they're meant to be M3 screws. Oh look, that one fits. Okay, so that's gone in perfectly. So these are the right screws. Excellent. So it might be that that one just wasn't aligned perfectly. That just then I gave it a little wiggle and now it is. And that one goes in as well. Oh yeah, yeah. We're on a roll. We're on a roll. We're getting it in. Perfect. So then this one, again, might need a little bit of wiggle just to line up the hole. What you don't want to do is you don't want the screwdriver to slip and go through your motherboard. So you could do it by hand just to start it off to make sure that it's in the right place. And as I say, so leave the other ones quite loose. And the reason for that is you want to have the motherboard still have a little bit of wiggle while you're putting them in, because if they're too tight you might not have one of the holes lined up, which then causes the last one not to go in, like the struggle I'm having now with that one in the corner over there, and probably this one here as well. So there's 2 that I'm having trouble with. So let's try this one here. This one looks maybe straight. Yep, straight in, no problem. So far it's the 2 opposite corners I'm having trouble with. And possibly this corner here, I can actually see that it's slightly off. Only ever so slightly, and it's probably because of, as I said, that springiness of the faceplate at the back is causing it just to be off just ever so slightly, but enough so it doesn't line up. So I'm just giving it a little tug there over just to help guide it in. And we'll just do this last one here, which went in no problem. So now it's just these 2 corner ones now then, and hopefully now that we've got all the rest in, these 2 corner ones will go in a lot easier. And yes, that one does now. And then this one here hopefully will as well. So just get that in. Yes, in it goes. So now what you can do is just go around each one and just tighten it. Not incredibly tight, but you know, just enough that it's not going to come loose, because there will be vibrations from the fans and things, and you don't want it to come loose. So we'll just go round and give each one a tighten. Now it's all lined up. There we go. So just tight enough so it's all lined up. Perfect. So that's 8 screws, and the centre one is just a pin. Okay, so what we can do now is put the power in. So here's the ATX cable, and if we look here on the ATX, there is a notch, a sort of a hook, and then there's a notch here for that to line up to. So if we bend this over we should be able to line that up so that the notch and the hook go together and it clips in. Okay, and then there's this last bit here hanging off the end, and it has two sharp bits sticking out which line up with the two indents on here, so you can then say which way round that goes. It should only go in one way, but don't force it in. If it's not fitting, then it may be that you've got it backwards or something, but that notch goes in and lines up with those notches there, you see, so it makes it like it's one piece now. So that's the ATX, and then over here is the CPU 12 volts, and again exactly the same. So all you do is you line up the hook bit with the socket. So I'm just going to push them in, and if they don't go in, it may be you've got it upside down or something. So just make sure. Let me just kneel up while I do this, because it's a bit of an awkward thing to do. And this is why it's good to get these in now, before putting on the processor, before putting on the you know, the graphics cards and all of that stuff, because all that stuff will get in your way, and it's hard enough moving around inside these cases without all of the things getting in your way as well. So there we go, so they've gone in now. So that's that one, and then there's, so that's it, that's one of the 8, and then there's a final 4. When I say 4, it's a 4 pin, so it splits in half, and then that goes in this side, but it's a bit fiddly. It's a bit fiddly because we only want half of it to go in, and it's got to go up, around and down. So let's just get that in. And as I say, the only reason for this is because the amount of current that you get through the ATX isn't enough to power modern CPUs. Modern CPUs can, you know, 150 watts, some of them 200 watts. It's a very, very high power, and I mean, if you think about it, if you know about it, the a soldering iron for melting solder is 40 watts, and you've got a CPU here 140 watts. So that's why you need the big heat sinks to pull that hot heat away, and then the fans to then blow that heat away, because as I say, you have enough power there to melt metal. Okay, that's the motherboard in, that's the power connected. It won't do anything because we haven't put the headers on. So this is all of the buttons at the front and the front USB and stuff. So this is the USB 3 connector. Quite simple. Most of the sockets are shaped for what they connect to. So we know this is USB 3. It's the only thing on here that I can plug it into. So that's just here next to the ATX. I'm just going to put my torch on so I can see. There we go. So that's that one plugged in. So that's now up into the front of the case where the USB 3 is. Then other connectors, there's quite a few on here. Let's see what we've got. Now, it's interesting power connectors here. I don't know what these are, so I'm going to have to look these up on the instructions, because there's an old what's his name cable, IDE style cable there. So don't know what that's for. 2 more connectors here with 3 pins on. That's normally something like a fan, which is interesting. Okay, so we don't need the VGA cables for the moment. So what else do we have? So we don't know what that is. We don't know what that is. Going to have to get the instructions out. This one has a connector connected in with the 3 cables into one of these. So these must be spare connectors for spare fans. Okay, so that's spare connectors for spare fans. Okay. Now what else do we have? Now this is where motherboards haven't changed for years, motherboards and cases, and this is the power switch, the power LED, the reset switch, the what else? The we've got some front audio here, so front USB, so we can plug them in. So front audio. Now, which way round does it go? One of them has a pin block thing on it to stop you putting it in the wrong way up, so that's good. That's front audio. So that's the headphones, microphone at the front. That's it, really. So this is front USB, and it's only USB 2, so it's only a small header thing for that. So what we've got here, so that says USB 6, USB 7, so I suppose you can use either of those, so we'll just use that. And again, it's got a little notch so you can't put it in the wrong way round, which is helpful. So that's the front USB. And then we've got some other cables. Let's see if we can dish them out because they've gone off on their own somewhere. Here we go. Right. So let's pull these through. So these, what we'll do with these extras is we'll feed them back through, but these are extra case fan power supplies. So this this case has room for extra fans, and we're not using any of those, so we don't need any of this. So I'm just going to poke this all back through because none of that is needed. But if you had extra fans, there's a button on the front of the case to turn the speed up and down. So you may want the fan to go super fast because you know you're about to start overheating the thing, or you may want to slow it down because it's too noisy. So it's got variable speed control on the front of the case. Well, the way that it does the variable speed control is through the through those connectors onto the fans. But these are the actual connectors now for the buttons on the front, the buttons and the lights, and these have not changed for many years. So the buttons themselves don't matter which way round they go, but the LEDs do matter which way round they go, and written on the board is which way round they go, but it's too small for me to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the motherboard instruction book, which is just up here. So always have the instruction book with you, and in here it will say which connection goes to which. So what we got here then? No, none of that. Not that one. Not that one. This one. So this is where it says system panel connector 20 stroke 5 pin panel. I don't know what that means, but what we're interested in is the words on here. So the very first two pins in which direction is that then? It's that way up, so it's upside down. So the very two bottom pins then are the hard drive light plus. So the very bottom pin here is hard drive light plus. So let's see if we can find the hard drive light. So we've got these loose cables here, and that says hard drive light, and the plus is the bottom one and the negative is the one next to it. So all we've got to do is feed that, clip that into there. So we now have hard drive light plus and minus. Next to that we have the reset switch. So what's this one? I think this is that's power LED, so we don't want that one. Reset switch. So next to that is reset switch, so we can just drop that in. And again, it just, you know, they're just pin headers, so you just drop it in there. Okay. Now, where is power switch? Power switch is opposite the reset switch. So on the other side, you have the power switch. So we just drop that in, literally in parallel with the reset switch. So the last one we're looking for, if I turn it the right way up so I can read it, is the power LED, and the power LED, amazingly, why do we have two power LEDs? Oh, it's got speaker. You have to buy an external speaker? No. So, yes, the power LED plus is at the bottom next to the hard drive LED. So there we go. So all we've got to do is take the plus and minus there and drop them in. So you can do one at a... This one's split, so these are ones you can do one at a time, like that. Okay. So we've got the power switch, we've got the reset switch, the power LED, and the hard drive LED. Perfect. What's next? Well, we put in a SATA drive, so there should be here somewhere. There we go, a bag with a SATA cable in. So this comes with your motherboard normally. So we just need to take the SATA cable and plug that into one of the SATA ports. Now on this particular motherboard, it has 8 SATA ports. And that sounds a lot, and it is, and it's for doing things like RAID. Look up RAID if you're interested in redundancy and speed. So it has 4 SATA ports here, but it also has 4 SATA ports here. And these are right next to the hard drive, which is there. Do you see? So it goes straight across. So the easiest thing to do is to plug in the SATA connector into one of these holes. Now, so obviously it's always good to know which one is the first one, and from the look of this, it's the top one here. So you plug that in, and if it doesn't fit one way up, it'll fit the other way up. There we go. So that goes in there, and then we can feed that through this grommet, where the power supply for the VGA is coming through. Feed that through, past all of these cables at the back. Rock this back up. Oh, there we go, rock it back up. Oh, let's see if we can get this... Oh, what have I pressed? Oh, the battery's about to die. Okay, well hopefully it will last. Oh. So, feed this through here, past all of these other cables, like this, and then we've got this SATA cable, and then we just line it up with the drive. And I should have done it really when it was out of the thing to make it a bit easier on myself. But if we feed this in here like that, then what we should be able to do is just fold this round and clip it in. And if this all lines up, it's in, and it clipped in. There we go. So that is the motherboard in. Oh, one more thing. While we still have battery power, which is that cable that we said to move out of the way, is a fan connector, and on the motherboard we have a case fan connector. So there's a CPU fan, and there is a auxiliary fan, and that's what this is for, the auxiliary fan. So we can just drop that in, and that should just line up with that, and then it goes. So now we've got the rear fan is now got power coming directly from the motherboard, and that's it for the motherboard. So next it will be CPU, RAM, graphics card, install an operating system, done.